How's it going, everybody? By the time you are watching this video, I will be on a plane to California for Berkeley Free Speech Week. So I do this pretty much all the time. I have to film videos in advance because then I'll be on a plane and I can't film on a plane or upload on a plane. So here you go. Berkeley Free Speech Week, as far as I can tell, is a bit of a disaster. It doesn't seem like it's very well planned out. In fact, many of the people who are allegedly set to speak didn't even know they were invited. At least it's being reported by a few different outlets. We saw last night one of the invited speakers, Lucien Winrich, claiming the event was off. But apparently, I believe Milo is still saying that everything is going on as planned. We're hearing that some of the official channels from Berkeley, from UC Berkeley and the government, saying that the event is just going to take place at Sproul Plaza in public. So this might not actually even be in a building. It's hard to know exactly what's going to happen. Vanity Fair has an article they just put out which specifically talks about some of these speakers, and they said that prominent personalities listed on the schedule, academics like Charles Murray, Heather McDonald, pundit Michael Malice, and former Google engineer James Damore, said they had never been invited in the first place. And they go on to clarify that Lucien Winrich announced on Wednesday night that he was withdrawing from the event, citing both a packed schedule and uncertainties surrounding the event on both sides. So, I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. A lot of people expect protests whether or not the event takes place, just because, like we saw with the protests in Berkeley just a few weeks ago, even when the event was canceled, the Joey Gibson event was canceled, Antifa still showed up and they still beat people. So a lot of people are wondering if the event takes place, if it doesn't take place, does it even matter? Will Antifa riot anyway? Some people have even suggested that Milo is just trying to claim Free Speech Week is going to happen so that Antifa goes out and riots and then he can get a bunch of press, that the event will be canceled, that tomorrow they'll come out and say, oh no, we can't do the event because we were stonewalled by UC Berkeley. In fact, Milo put out a video on YouTube talking about how he believes, and the people hosting the event believe, that UC Berkeley, that Berkeley, was purposefully holding them back, trying to get them to fill out a bunch of forms and put them through bureaucratic hell so that they could claim Milo and his people didn't fill out the adequate forms and it was their fault Free Speech Week didn't happen. But you know what? I'm sitting here rather frustrated because I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. And for someone like, for me, for a journalist who wants to go there and cover this, it costs money and I have to make plans in advance. So when I see this chaos, it's particularly frustrating. And the question becomes, make the investment and go, and then what if nothing happens and it's all just BS? Or don't risk it, and then it happens and you miss the event. So needless to say, I have no choice but to go. And I mean, honestly, hopefully there's no rioting, there's no violence, there's no protests, but it'll be either way. I'll go there and I'll interview people and we'll talk about what's going on. But let's move on to the true price of free speech, at least in Berkeley. As many of you know, if you follow my videos, Ben Shapiro's event in Berkeley cost $600,000. Police were surrounding UC Berkeley campus, just outside of Sproul Plaza where the protest was taking place. In every direction you could go, there were cops everywhere. Security was on lockdown, and a lot of people believe that the reason we didn't see a lot of violence is that police wouldn't let anyone near the protest with a mask on. Still, we ended up seeing a woman get pushed off of a lamppost, or I believe that's what happened. We saw a woman fall down, hit her head, and get taken away in an ambulance with a bloody head injury. So needless to say, things got bad to a certain degree, even with a heavy police presence. Now, what everyone needs to consider when we talk about the cost of security in Berkeley, that the Berkeley officials, UC Berkeley, repeatedly say they cannot guarantee the safety of their students and the speakers, like what we saw with Ann Coulter. They spent a lot of money preparing for security, and they repeatedly said that they couldn't guarantee anyone's safety. They're talking about violence coming from Antifa. No one believes that these conservative speakers like Ben Shapiro or Ann Coulter are going to physically attack people. No one believes that hordes of Nazi white supremacists are going to show up in the streets and start attacking people. This is a college town with one speaker coming. Antifa, and more specifically by any means necessary, yet they go out and attack people and get violent. So when we're looking at these statements from Berkeley, when they say we cannot guarantee your safety, they are talking about Antifa. The total estimated cost so far this year for speakers is around $1.4 million. $200,000 for Milo, $600,000 for Ann Coulter, and $600,000 for Ben Shapiro. And Ann Coulter didn't even end up coming to UC Berkeley. Now, the UC system is set to pay at least $300,000 for security during Free Speech Week. And UC President Janet Napolitano said, "Free speech is not free, it turns out." This will be a test for Berkeley. It's a cost that the university is bearing to protect the speakers, but also to protect the value of free speech. But the rock and the hard place that the campus is in is the value of free speech versus the need to protect the safety and security of the students and the faculty. Milo and his cast of speakers will be on Sproul Plaza, which is a public space, and we will underwrite the safety and security expenses associated with that. At a certain point, that position, i.e., that we will have these speakers and pay for the security costs associated with that, may not be sustainable. And I think this is a very important distinction to make, that UC President Janet Napolitano is talking about the cost and the security for the students and the speakers, and she's referring to Antifa in terms of the violence. So I don't understand how, people outside Berkeley, I don't understand how people who are associated with the far left or in favor of Antifa can justify forcing a city to front these costs. Because look, people have a right to speak, students have a right to host certain speakers, but you do not have a right to go and burn down buildings or beat people in the streets. So what this comes down to is, it is not the fault of those being attacked. It is not the victim's fault when they're attacked. In fact, the Berkeley Patriot said this is a failure of the university and the city to protect them from leftist hate groups. And you know what? Let's stop right here and say, are there right-wing hate groups too? Yes. Everyone always gets mad that I do videos focusing on groups like Antifa because there are certainly violent individuals associated with the right or in opposition to Antifa. But just because I'm going to sit here and say a group of people wearing all black and masks trying to shut down or silence someone, to take away someone's rights to a public event, to speak in public, that's oppression. It doesn't mean that I'm in any way justifying any other violence. So drop your straw man, and for once, we're going to sit here on the left and criticize those on the left that would cause problems and violate the civil rights of others. We're not talking about government censorship. We're just talking about the fact that you can't go around beating people and shutting down public events. In which case, the community of Berkeley, the school, which is a progressive school, is going to front the costs to protect free speech. In fact, even Bernie Sanders has called out the violence. He's quoted as saying, "To me, it's a sign of intellectual weakness. If you can't ask Ann Coulter in a polite way questions which expose the weakness of her arguments, if all you can do is boo or shut her down or prevent her from coming, what does that tell the world?" And that's a sentiment I agree with. It's very interesting to see that Noam Chomsky, Bernie Sanders, people on the left and the right, from mainstream Democrats to progressives to democratic socialists, agree with the idea of free speech. There's just this small contingent of tending to be young people who don't believe in free speech and are getting violent. Even the people who are considered leaders among the far left, like I mentioned, Noam Chomsky or Bernie Sanders, are not okay with this violence. So if you've been following my videos, then you know that this is an idea that I shared before, but I want to reiterate this because we're moving into this thread of Free Speech Week, and it's that the Bay Area tends to be this epicenter for the current cultural civil war. A lot of the street violence started in Berkeley with Milo'S event in February, bleeding into all of these protests around the country, these free speech rallies and these, anti-Nazi counter protests, which kind of don't make sense, but like when they're protesting, mixed race people or something. You also have all of these big tech companies in the Bay that are deleting or censoring or blocking certain accounts that are conservative. So there's the argument of free speech and a right to express our ideas, and we're seeing it at the ground level in the streets with violence from Berkeley, and we're seeing it in the digital space with these big tech companies. So once again, I will be flying out to the Bay Area to see what the hell is going on. So stay tuned, interviews, live streams, mini docs, all of that coming. should the event even take place, assuming it will. But you know what, even if it doesn't, I'm sure something will happen, and I'll still go out there and interview some people to see, you know, how people feel, right? If the event doesn't happen, then we'll figure out what people feel, how people feel about the event not happening. But I think something will happen. So comment below, let me know what you think, share your thoughts, we'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Click the like button if you like the video, and if you really like the video, share the video, because that helps a whole lot too. If you want to support my work, make sure you go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like or give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. Stay tuned for breaking news around the world. After this, Catalonian independence. So I will be going to Spain. Should be fun. I'll see you then.